Hello, you are watching Shalom World News. I'm Marina Grossu from Washington, D.C. Here are the latest headlines from around the world. The Holy Father has once again made a passionate plea for the suffering Ukrainian people who are being severely tested by the ongoing war. Pope Francis made this recent appeal for the war-torn country at the close of his general audience on Wednesday in the Paul VI Hall of the Vatican. Pope Francis said, "War is horrible. So many people have died, including so many children." He also urged people to pray and to keep in mind tormented Ukraine. The Holy Father also recalled the upcoming feast of Our Lady of Częstochowa in Poland on August 26. The day marks a major feast across the Polish nation, given the massive numbers of pilgrims who visit the shrine dedicated to her there. Meanwhile, Cardinal Matteo Zuppi of Bologna and the head of the Italian Episcopal Conference said it is not foolish to envision a future without war. A reasonable and safe peace must be found via dialogue, not by accepting an unjust peace. The Daniel Ortega regime of Nicaragua has gone one more step in persecuting the church by revoking the legal status given to the Society of Jesus religious in the country. This was announced by the nation's Interior Ministry on Wednesday, with the indication that all of its assets must be seized. The move is the most recent in a series of measures taken by the administration against the Catholic Church in Nicaragua. According to the ministry's notification, published in the official gazette of the government, the religious organization had violated transparency regulations by failing to submit needed financial accounts for the previous 3 years and by failing to keep its board of directors informed. In the United States, a new initiative to uphold the right to pray and express religious beliefs in public settings has been launched. The First Liberty Institute in Texas has announced the Restoring Faith in America campaign to defend the right to display the Ten Commandments, nativity scenes, and other faith affirmations, as well as to protect the right to pray. This campaign also expresses solidarity with the First Freedom Challenge launched by attorney Paul Clement, encouraging Americans to take a knee with a high school football coach on September 1st to publicly demonstrate their faith. Coach Joe Kennedy was sacked from Bremerton High School in Washington in 2015 for praying on the field. He filed a lawsuit and the court ruled in his favor, forcing the school to reinstate him and acknowledge his right to express his faith. Pakistani Catholics living in the United States are urging worldwide awareness and action after a devastating attack on a number of Christian churches in the eastern city of Jaranwala in Pakistan on August 16th. Armed Muslim mobs set fire to at least 6 churches, including the Old Salvation Army Church and St. Paul Catholic Church. Numerous Christian private homes were plundered, with assailants piling up families' goods outside and setting them on fire. Bibles and other religious artifacts were also destroyed in the mayhem. Efforts are being made to help the Christian community in the Muslim-majority nation. A Christian legal group in the United States is encouraging a South Carolina school board to continue allowing its members to open meetings with a prayer. This comes after a secular organization demanded an end to the practice of having a prayer during meetings. Offering pro bono legal assistance, the First Liberty Institute sent a letter on Tuesday to the Dorchester School District 2 of Somerville's school board. The letter was sent by the Christian nonprofit group after the board received a letter from the Freedom from Religion Foundation objecting to board members praying before meetings began. In its letter, First Liberty Institute explained the lawfulness of legislative prayer. It also cited the 2022 U.S. Supreme Court case of Kennedy versus Bremerton School District, in which the top court ruled that the high school football coach could kneel in prayer on the field after games. The World Council of Churches, or also called the WCC, has voiced concern over the restriction of Christians' right to practice their religion in the Holy Land. It comes after more than 1,000 Orthodox Christians were refused entry to Mount Tabor, where the transfiguration of Jesus took place, as per the Gospel account. A ban had been issued to prevent assembly at the site over alleged safety concerns. The WCC says there has been repeated harassment of Christians in Jerusalem, Haifa, and elsewhere, and local churches have issued statements asking for help and the protection of the indigenous Christian presence. The rector of St. Andrew's Episcopal Church in Ramallah, Father Fadi Diab, has welcomed WCC's intervention. The state Supreme Court in South Carolina has upheld an abortion ban on Wednesday. The prohibition mostly applies to procedures carried out after the discovery of a fetal heartbeat at about 6 weeks of pregnancy. Chief Justice Donald Beatty was the lone dissenter in the court's 4-1 decision. The prohibition is enforced right away. A similar prohibition that the Republican-led legislature approved in 2021 was overturned by the court months earlier. In the most recent ruling, Justice John Kitteridge wrote for the majority that the state legislature reasonably decided that a woman's right to privacy and bodily autonomy don't outweigh the interests of the unborn child to live. Police in the state of Michigan's Grand Blanc are looking into a break-in and vandalism that occurred at Holy Family Catholic Church on Wednesday morning. The vandals were recorded on camera, according to Lieutenant Brian Biarski of the Grand Blanc City Police Department. He said investigators are collaborating with church officials to identify the suspects. He thinks that since the suspects were loitering near the church and checking doors, the break-in was an opportunity crime. They entered after discovering an unlocked door and did substantial damage. Vandals broke at least one crucifix in the church. The motive for the break-in and vandalism was not known. A Christian nonprofit organization based in the state of Tennessee is alleging that its bank account was shut down because Bank of America disagreed with its religious views. The Indigenous Advanced Ministries supporting vulnerable children in Uganda filed a consumer complaint saying the closure prevented them from paying their staff salaries. The group said it adheres to the Christian views of marriage and morality, and that was the reason for Bank of America closing its account. However, the bank denied the claim, saying religious beliefs are not a factor in any account closing decision. Indigenous Advanced Ministries opened a new account with the bank in January this year, and by April they were told that the group was operating in a business type that the bank had chosen not to service. Bank of America also sent a letter saying the group's risk profile no longer aligned with the bank's risk tolerance. Christian legal group Alliance Defending Freedom is representing Indigenous Advanced Ministries in its case. In an amicus brief, the U.S. Catholic bishops have said that the Supreme Court should uphold a federal law allowing people under domestic restraining orders to be prohibited from carrying guns. In the brief sent on August 22nd, the bishop said the right to bear arms is not an unqualified license that must leave vulnerable family members to live in fear. They said abused victims are precisely the people whom a just government is tasked with protecting. This comes as the U.S. Supreme Court is set to hear the case U.S. versus Rahimi in its upcoming session. In May, the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals vacated notorious drug dealer Zaki Rahimi's conviction for illegal gun possession while having a domestic violence restraining order. The bishop said they have an interest in the case as they think it is particularly important to advance the protection of the dignity and well-being of vulnerable persons who live under the threat of violence. In Sudan, where the conflict between the military and the rival paramilitary forces is raging, as many as 498 children have lost their lives so far. According to doctors, most of the mortalities were related to hunger and malnutrition. Doctors are saying that the death toll could be much higher than the reported figures. They said that the mortality rate of children caused by malnutrition is equal to 20% of cases received by the hospital. With the closure of 57 Save the Children nutritional facilities, 31,000 children are unable to receive treatment for malnutrition. Save the Children country director Arif Noor said seriously ill children arrive in the arms of mothers in nutrition centers and the staff have few options to treat them. There are also reports that at least $14 million in food inventories have been looted and dozens of warehouses storing food for the World Food Program and other humanitarian groups have been raided and destroyed. The United Nations Education, Science, and Culture Agency has stressed the need to end exploitation. Director General of UNESCO, Audrey Azoulay, said it was time to abolish human exploitation once and for all, and to recognize the equal and unconditional dignity of each and every individual. She made this statement while commemorating the International Day for the Remembrance of the Slave Trade and its abolition on Wednesday. She also called for remembering the victims and freedom fighters of the past so that they may inspire future generations to build just societies. The uprising in Saint Dominique, which is now Haiti, on August 23, 1791, played a key role in ending the transatlantic slave trade. It is in this background that the International Day for the Remembrance of the Slave Trade and its abolition is commemorated. And those are your latest headlines. Join us again tomorrow for more. You can also visit swnews.org for more updates. Shalom.